Our objectives for this week will be to use the Google Earth tool, and you're going to find standards in your grade level or your subject area and build an integrated technology activity based on those standards. Remember, we don't teach technology, and please keep that in mind. So we're not teaching the technology. We are using the technology to teach one of those standards in a better, more interesting way for students. So we aren't using Google Earth to teach about Google Earth. We're using Google Earth to teach about math. We're using Google Earth to teach about social studies. We're using Google Earth to teach about science. We're using Google Earth to teach about literature. So keep that in mind, that that is our focus, that we do not teach technology because it's neat or cool for the sake of technology. We're using technology to teach another topic better. Okay, so to download Google Earth, just go to any of your browser areas. Google's fine if you want to go there. Yahoo's fine. And just search for Google Earth Download. So here at the top of my list, I'm going to click on Download the latest version of Google Earth. Now, keep in mind, almost every software that you download, they try to do a little tricky thing here. Almost all of them try to get you to download something extra. So keep that in mind. So here they're trying to get you to download Google Chrome. I already have Google Chrome, so I don't want to waste my time downloading Google Chrome again. So deselect stuff that you don't want. A lot of times if you're on Yahoo, they'll have you download a Yahoo toolbar. Watch for that kind of stuff. Only download the stuff that you want. So I'm going to deselect these things and then agree and download. Would you go ahead and please download Google Earth? It's really for such an amazing program. It doesn't take very long to download. Please go ahead and do that. And then now while you are downloading that, I'm going to show you some examples of past student work so that you can see some examples of how students like yourselves have integrated Google Earth into standards before. So your outcomes today, where you're headed, is that you're going to create a narrated, using your voice, a narrated Google Earth tour to help plan for your diverse learner in your classroom. And then you are going to, at the end of this, you're going to evaluate other students' Google Earth tours. Now here in your agenda, I have a video that shows you how to create the narrated Google Earth files. I will also be showing that to you here in my demonstration. So keep in mind, as I'm showing you these sample tours, that I would like you to pick a standard or standards from your chosen grade level or your chosen subject area. And you're going to think of an activity that you could do with these students to help get them to that destination of that standard, okay, or those standards. A lot of times we can reach several standards in one activity. Now this needs to be a narrated Google Earth tour. You need to take your students to at least 3 different places of interest. And this file ends up being a KLM or a KMZ file, okay? And then you're going to complete what integrated technology activity form, where you list your standards, write your objectives, and describe your activity. So that's That's where we're headed. Let me show you some examples why you are downloading Google Earth of what some of your peers in the past have done. Now, don't worry that you don't know how to create one of these yet, because as always, I will walk you through step by step how to move around in Google Earth and how to create one of these. I'm just showing you examples of what your end product might look like. Now, here I will be running video through video, so I apologize. It might be just a little bit jerky, but these normally flow in a better manner. I do have these listed in your module, and so you can download these at a later date and play them in your module. So let me just play a couple of these while you're downloading your Google Earth.
To look at the very important places during the Civil War. First, we're going to take a look at Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States of America. From here we can see Washington, D.C. is a very large city. We zoom in closer, we can see the many important parts of Washington, D.C. Over here would be the White House. This is where the president lives. We zoom out, we can see the rest of the Capitol Square. Next, crossing over to our neighboring part, we will see the Arlington National Cemetery, which houses many, if not all, of the dead U.S. soldiers. If we zoom in, we can see all the headstones. There are lots of them, hundreds of thousands of them. Next, we will see the very first place in which a battle took place during the Civil War. It is located in Vicksburg. Vicksburg, as you can see, is located in Mississippi. Zoom in. Vicksburg is not a very large town at all. Probably smaller than Elko. If we zoom in, we can see where the battlefield took place. If we kind of take a bird's eye view look at it, we can see that the battle took place on a hill. And the battlefield itself wasn't even very big. Now, we will go to where the battle...
Okay, I think you get a good sense of that one. Let's try another one here.
A warm island in the middle of the ocean. What of the 5 senses could we use if we went to Hawaii?
This one was for pre-K.
We could see volcanoes, because Hawaii is made up of volcanoes. We could also see plants. All of this green is plant life. There are many different kinds of plants in Hawaii. Let's take a look. Look at all these different kinds of plants. There's trees, and there's bushes. There's even palm trees. What of our other 5 senses could we use if we went to Hawaii? We would be able to hear. We could hear these ocean waves crashing against the shoreline. We could smell. We could smell salt in the air, and we could smell the volcanic ash as well. What would we be able to taste if we went to Hawaii? I bet we'd be able to taste pineapple. There are other kinds of Hawaiian foods we'd be able to taste as well. If we went to Hawaii, what could we feel?
Okay, I think that you get a sense of that one. Let's do just a little bit of one more.
For this exercise, I want everyone to pick a civilization or civilizations from the past and see how they have influenced American society today. I want you guys to use Google Earth and pull up areas in the world that have existed and then find locations in America where you can see their influence. The influences from these civilizations can be any topic of your choice. Some of the examples are architecture, entertainment, food, music, religion, or specific individuals who lived in those societies. Here we have examples of ancient Greek and Roman architecture and how it's influenced buildings in America. Let's go ahead and check out one of these locations. The first one we're going to is the Parthenon in Greece. Parthenon was built in Athens, Greece in honor of the goddess Athena. Construction started in 447 BC and finished in 432 BC during the height of its power. Now let's take a look at a famous building in Washington, D.C. that I feel was influenced by the Parthenon architecture. And here we see the Lincoln Memorial and the pillars and the architecture there. Now let's go to another ancient building. There's an example of how the Romans have influenced not only American society, but other societies in the past. The Colosseum was built by the Romans in 72 AD and completed in 80 AD. It was capable of seating 50,000 spectators and was used for gladiatorial contests and other events like mock sea battles and even executions. This was a very popular and big building for its time. Now let's see what influence it's had on current American society. The one I chose was the Memorial Coliseum in Los Angeles, California. Here's a picture of it, just moving down this way. And this is where the University of Southern California football team plays, and it was also where the 1984 Summer Olympics were hosted.
Okay. So those are just a couple of the many examples that I have given you to look at of past exemplary student work that asked those students if they were willing to share their work with other classes, and they said that they would. So you'll see that there are many things that are in common with those. One, you can see that they have worked on a script. So they aren't reaching for words, that they know what they're going to say ahead of time. You can also see that they have practiced their movements within Google Earth. They know how they're going to fly, whether they're going to hover above something, whether they're going to get on the ground to the street view like this example right here, how they're going to turn around to give the best example. So I think these were pretty good examples of actually teaching with the technology and not teaching the technology. So I hope that's pretty clear in your minds. So you saw an example of one for the Civil War, which was for about 5th grade, the 5 senses, which was for pre-K, and then the architectural comparisons then and now, this last one that was for high school. So I wanted to give you some breadth and examples from different grade levels. Now, let's step back just a little bit now that you kind of get a big picture, hopefully. And if you've had a chance to download Google Earth on your computers, you can play along with me. Now, the first thing that everyone wants to do is they want to see what their house looks like. So let's go ahead and do that, shall we? To do this, here in this search bar, yours may not say fly to here. I've noticed that some of the newer versions may not say fly to it, might say search there, and that's okay. So go ahead and on yours put in your address here. Right now I'm at the college, so I'm going to put in the college address here. Now I could put in Great Basin College, and that would kind of get me generally in the location. Or I can put in the street address. Usually either one works. The street address might even be get me a little bit closer, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Notice that I put in 1500 College Parkway, Elko, Nevada. I could also put in the zip there as well. I don't think it will be necessary, but it's okay to do that. Now, notice that it's good practice to fly with your head down. On that last example, the architectural comparison, he was flying with his head up, so we didn't get the perspective of kind of flying into Rome and getting the whole scene of Italy and Europe and kind of flying in and seeing that Italy is kind of a boot shape and then seeing where Rome is on Italy. We kind of got a starry view. So try to fly with your head down, and I'll show you how to do that. Just keep that in mind. So it just gives students a little more perspective on the geography of their world. Okay, so when you put in an address, I'm going to use this first tool here. This is your zoom in and zoom out button. And I'm going to talk to you about how to navigate, kind of give you some driving lessons to get you started here. So I'm going to zoom out just to give us a bigger perspective of the Elko area, and then we'll zoom back in. So I'm going to use the minus here. So here's kind of the Elko area here, Spring Creek area over here. You can see I-80 going through town. You can see the train tracks going through town, some of the major landscape here. Now I can start to zoom in. I'm going to click on this plus sign, And this is how you kind of get closer, and this will be your first driving lesson, is to kind of zoom in and get a little closer to the object you desire to look at. So I'm going to click on my plus sign here. Now, notice that my cursor is a hand, and you can use that hand to pull down or pull across your screen if you see the object of your attention is not where you want it. So I'm going to zoom in a little closer using my plus. And here's the high-tech center where I am, and that's the object of my interest. So I'm going to kind of center that up on our screen. Now, down here at the very bottom of your screen, lots of information here. It is here. You see the image date. This image was taken on June 23rd of 2012. Okay, June 23rd. We also have the longitude and the latitude of my cursor. So wherever my cursor moves changes the longitude and the latitude. It also shows the elevation. This is the elevation where we are right now with that zooming tool. So here's the high-tech center where I am in my office currently. That's your first tool, is to zoom in and zoom out. Now, the next thing that you can do, how many of you have seen a Google car? It's like a normal little hatchback, and there's one that has a little white lollipop sticking off the top of it. Another one has a big white dome. They come on I-80 about twice a year, and they drive up and down the streets. Many of you have probably noticed it but didn't know what it was. So if you click on this little orange guy, this will give you a street view, and this will show you everywhere that Google car has been. So do you see these blue lines here? This shows me where the Google car has been, and I can drag my little orange man and drop him on the street where the Google car has been. So I'm going to grab my little orange man, and I'm going to drag him and drop him right in front of the high-tech center. Boop. Okay, now I've dropped him right in the middle of the street. And now I'd like to introduce you to your second driving tool. And we are going to turn around. So this is like standing on your feet and just turning a 360, just turning all the way around. So I'm going to turn all the way around until I am facing the high-tech center. There's the parking lot. I'm not here during the summer, so my car's not here. The second door on the right, you will find my office. So this is your second driving tool, and this will turn your north around. You can turn around in a 360-degree motion. Follow the white line and kind of fly or walk along. And this is the next tool that I would like to show you, this one right here in the middle. I call this the Superman tool. This is kind of like your walking or flying tool. Now, when you are on the ground, you can just walk along, and if you are following that white line, that's where the Google Earth car has been. And I'm going to stop right here at the intersection, and I'm going to look around, use my 360 tool. And I'm going to walk some more along the white line and see if we can get a better look at the front doors of the high-tech center. So again, I'm going to use my Superman tool, fly along the white line, and there I can look at a better view of the front doors of the high-tech center. Let's look at some more interesting places, shall we? Let's head over to France. Let's go look at the Eiffel Tower. So here in my search area, I'm going to put in the information that I know about it. So here it took me to the Eiffel Tower. I want you to notice a couple of things here. There are things called layers. I'm going to deselect for now the 3D buildings layer. Now, keep in mind that when a satellite passes over the Earth, it's just going to give you a flat picture. All right? Now, when you enact this 3D buildings, this is going to give you an artist's rendition, a 3D rendition of certain objects. Now, will you have 3D renditions of Great Basin College? Probably not, unless we've had a class and students have gone outside and created 3D images of some of Great Basin College's buildings. So not every place that you go is going to have 3D renditions. Like famous places like the Eiffel Tower and the Colosseum and other places will have the 3D imagery, but know that not everything will. As a default, many of you probably have the photos layer on. I like to take my photo layers off, but sometimes they're kind of fun to look at. If you have lots of these little boxes like this, these are photos that people have taken and they have shared with Google Earth users. To me, unless I want to look at different perspectives, then they're kind of an annoyance for me sometimes, unless I'm looking for that particular thing. So I will deselect the Google Earth photo layer. So you might want to deselect that layer. Now let's go ahead and turn on our 3D buildings layer. And notice how the Eiffel Tower looks different. And now the first thing I'm going to do is take my zooming tool and I'm going to zoom in. And I can look at this in a different way. I can fly around using that second tool. Now, the next part of these tools that I would like to show you is the one that moves your head in a nodding motion from your chin down, looking at your toes, to your chin up high, looking at the stars. This is this one right here in the middle that has the little picture of the eye. So right here, I want to look up at the Eiffel Tower. So I'm going to point my chin up. So I can see from the bottom all the way to the top, looking at the Eiffel Tower by using my head nod, where you go from down to, and you can also go from side to side, but a lot of times you are looking up and down. Okay, let's look back down again. So I'm going to click down, and now I'm looking back down at the ground again. Now, keep in mind that I have my 3D buildings on this layer, and this is an artist's rendition of the Eiffel Tower. So it's not real life. This is an artist's rendition. What we can do to get a real life view, let's grab our little orange guy, click on him, and see if the Google Earth car has been somewhere around the Eiffel Tower. We have a blue line right next to the Eiffel Tower. Let's grab our little orange guy and drop him right on the blue line. Okay, so we find ourselves right there by the Eiffel Tower. Now I can use these tools. I'm going to turn myself around using that north tool so I can face the Eiffel Tower a little better. Now notice that the makers of Google Earth, they have tried to fuzz out people's faces. So you'll see all of these faces have been fuzzed out to protect their identity. And now I want to look up here, so I'm going to use my head nodding tool. And I can look up inside of the Eiffel Tower. Pretty neat. Okay, so let's review what each of these tools do. This first tool, this is what you would use first. This zooms in and zooms out. The second tool, this is your walk around and your Superman tool to fly around. The tool on the top, this circles in a 360 degree, and inside that nods your head up and down. Now this does take some practice to try to look at different things. Let's go to some other places, shall we? How about we go to, we're in France now. Let's go to another country. I've been wanting to go to China for quite a while. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out to give us a little more perspective of exactly where we are. We see North Korea here, South Korea here, China, Mongolia, Beijing here. And then let's zoom in here by using our zoom tool. Usually this is the first one you want to go to. Look at all of the buildings. You see a lot of industrialization here. A few lakes I'm seeing along here. So look how many square blocks the Forbidden City is. It really looks pretty large. How about we kind of drop ourselves outside of the gates? So to get a street view, what we want to do is grab our little guy and just drop him right down there on the street. Now, keep in mind that I have my 3D layer on, so this is the artist's rendition of the Forbidden City. So one way to get around is to use your arrow keys on your keyboard. And this is like using your Superman tool, using the arrows on your keyboard. And again, I want to look up, so I'm going to use my head nodding tool. It was really interesting that there were many, many satellites that were flying over Japan after all of the problems that they had with the nuclear reactors and the tsunamis. You could really see the complete change, ocean side, and complete, many of them little fishing villages right near the ocean that were there one day and completely wiped out the next. You'll also see here on your layers that there's an ocean layer and a global awareness layer. If you expand those out, you can see dead zones. And you'll see, and there's fewer now than what there were, where a lot of the industrial waste, where that was pulled into the ocean, and a lot of problems they were having there in Japan. There used to be a lot more of these dead zones here in and around Japan, and you can click on them and learn more. So some very interesting things. There's also a tool that I would like you to learn about here, historical imagery. And let's look for this in Japan. So let's look at this area. It says in this article from CNN dated April 1st of 2011 that there was a 9-meter, a 30-foot tsunami wall that came into this area. This image was taken on February 21st of 2012. This is Ryoshi, R-Y-O-I-S-H-I, Japan. So let's zoom in here and see what it currently looks like. Okay, this is Ryoshi right now. And let's see if we can tell a difference in a historical image here. Oh, wow, that's quite remarkable. Shocking even, I think. Look at all of the docks, look at all of the housing here. So look at all this housing. And current day, you can see that almost everything is completely or destroyed. That's that's pretty hard to look at. So that happened by the tsunami on March 11th of 2011. So let's see if we can get to a satellite image. This image was taken March 31st of 2011, so pretty close after. You are going to pick standards in your subject area and grade level. And you're going to create a narrated Google Earth tour. I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. You're going to need a microphone for this. Narration is required, okay? I think it's worth 30 points. It's worth a substantial amount. So you're going to have to play and make sure that you get that narration on there. It's important. So this tour can be where you're teaching students something, that it's part of your presentation to students. Or this tour can be like in some of the examples where you do an example of what you want students to create, to have them show what they know to you. So you're going to choose one or more standards and write measurable and observable objectives. Use those handouts on the Helpful 100 to help you write measurable and observable objectives. Think about an activity that your students can do. Do not teach them how to use Google Earth. We do not teach technology. We use technology to teach these standards better. So here is an example of what you're going to write up and send to me along with the narrated Google Earth tour that you create. Here in your assignment Dropbox, you're going to create a narrated Google Earth tour. I'm going to show you how to do that in just a minute. You're going to use the Record a Tour button. You're going to pick at least 3 areas of interest, and this should be narrated by you. Notice in the examples that these students have a script, that they have been to these areas, they know how to fly around, they know what height they want to be at, they know if they want to be on the ground, they know how they're going to turn around to give the best view. So you want to have that script. You want to know where you want to be. You probably want to practice this a few times You may even do your tour a couple of times to make sure that you're coming off in a professional manner. So you're going to want to download Google Earth if you haven't been able to do that. Get familiar with moving around. I've got links to a Google Earth tour so that you can become more familiar with that. There's Google Earth goes to the solar system, it goes to the ocean, it goes to the moon. There's lots of things that you can do with it. There's an education gallery to where you can find out how to use Google Earth in different ways. I have links to video instructions so you can learn how to create your Google Earth tour. And these are the things that you need in the assignment that you're going to hand in to me. You're going to describe your technology project. You're going to copy and paste the standards that you have chosen from your subject or content area. You're going to write a few objectives that are measurable and observable. Use that helpful 100 list to help you come up with those verbs. And then you're going to describe the activity that you're going to use with your students. I will be assigning peer reviews after the due date so that you will be able to look at each other's. Let me show you now how to create the Google Earth narrated tour. In your learning module, I think I have 5, 6, 7, 8 of these. So you can get a good idea of different areas. So after you have practiced, done a lot of practice here, the very first thing that you want to do is to right-click and add a folder. Call this folder whatever your tour is. I think I will do one of earthquake investigation. Then I want to go to each of those places, make sure my places are in that earthquake investigations. I want to have each of those in there. So I'm going to pretend like there was an earthquake at the White House. So I'm going to get this little place marked. And have that one place in my folder, okay? And then have that second place in my folder. Now, if for some reason that place mark is not in your folder, just drag and drop it underneath that folder that you created. Okay, so I have all of my 3 places there. I have my script, and I'm ready to go. I'm going to start with my very first place, get where I want to start off with, and you're going to click on this tool up in your toolbar that looks like a camera up here. This is Record a Tour. Click on Record a Tour. Now, the first time that you record a tour, do just a really short one. Do like a 30-second one. Make sure that your microphone is working. Don't do the whole thing just to find out that your microphone is not working. Click on the record button and also the microphone button, okay? So once I click on record and my microphone button, now it's recording my movements and recording my microphone. Make sure that you know what movements that you want to take, how you're going to fly around. If you want different views, you should have a variety of views. You should be flying around and make your narration interesting for students. Once you have done that, once you have moved around, that you've gone to the ground level view, whatever it is to make it interesting, you can move to your next place. Talk to your students. Now we are going to Japan. Japan had blah, blah, blah. Tell them where you're going, why, point out nearby areas, okay? Now, when you are done walking them through your tour, to stop, you will click again on this red box. So you'll see that it's playing that back with my audio. Do some tests. Make sure your audio is playing. It's very important. Then you want to save your recording. Click on the old floppy disk here and give your tour a name. This is not a tour. Those are just place marks. That is not a tour. That does not complete the requirements of this assignment. Notice this is now your tour. This is not a tour. That just helps you create your tour. This is the tour that you will hand in. To hand this in, you right-click on that tour. Notice that it has that icon with the camera. I'm going to right-click on that. Click on Save Place As. And notice that it wants to save a KMZ file, and this is the file that you need to hand in along with the standards, the objectives, and the description of your activity that you have chosen. That's the file that you hand in.